Shalom, shalom, peace and blessings. Mahalo Yahweh, Bahashem, Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. Yeah, it's really hard to make out with the glares here too, but this is fine. Peace and blessings. As I explained before, oh yeah, as I explained before, you guys all know. If you don't know, you will know. As I was explaining, we live in a orthographic projection, which is a matrix. In this reality, in this reality, like I was saying, is nothing but built upon your mind. So, as I stated before, I don't know whoever seen the other videos, and I may put this on YouTube or redo it and just do a YouTube video. Doesn't matter, but as I was simply going over uh, instant material that I put out before, um, I think y'all seen something like this. It's better here than it is there. Anyways, we're in the ortho projection, which is a third plane 3D simulation. If anybody have seen the movie The Matrix, um, when Neo was on the computer screen, because he was looking at code, nothing but code, straight codes, right? And the codes Neo was looking at was all based upon a search engine. So the reality that we live in would be equated to how we actually live in a search engine. And this reality is already spoken for, time is already spoken for, and that's what we live in. So this is a very crummy picture of things that we entertain while being in this reality. Those that subscribe to something called a firmament, you know that you're dealing with uh, a projection of light energy. If you know anything about quantum physics and atoms, you know that your skin is nothing more but atoms doing the Harlem Shake. Like when you zoom in on this piece of skin right here, is nothing but small pieces of atoms, which goes back to Adam, right, on a quantum physics level, right? And they even tell you technically can't even touch anything. Like when you put your hands together, technically down to the molecular level, this isn't even touching, but yet a force, right? Because we live in a matrix, a false reality. But anyways, all I wanted to explain here uh was that so I wanted to start off with mountain, right? We know mountain is part of the earth. The Hebrew word for mountain is har or hill, uh, which goes into Aratz or Aratzah, right? And all of these things holds a numeric value. And we go get into those codes and what those codes look like. Some ancient civilizations call it Adinkra codes, right? So, anyways, before you ever had sound, before you ever had uh, words, anything of that nature, everything was calculated, right? Everything has numbers. Numbers is actually the only truth. Numbers don't lie. Numbers is the only truth of this matrix that we live in right now. So I wanted to start it with we could start with R. That's fine. R dealing with mountain. The numeric value for R, which is mountain, would be 5,200, 5,200. So essentially, if you were on if you were using code, and you can picture Neo when he was in the Matrix, and he was doing nothing but reading the screen, reading code, it would have looked. So if you know anything about code in the search engine, without using numbers to understand what HAR is, you would actually use this number or a so-called mathematical equation, which would be 520, right? Going down the diagonal, right? So a picture, and imagine you don't have this picture. There's no image of this. There's no words to personify what HAR is. All you have is the truth, which is Amwa, Amath or Amwa, Amath, true, T-R-U-T-H, right? So anyway, dealing with the truth, only thing you would have to personify what a mountain is 5,020. The same thing with what? Mayum, right? Let's look at Mayum. We know Mayum is dealing with what? Chaos. We dealing with the waters. Uh, Mayum is one of the actually most dangerous places within the earth. It's unpredictable. The currents are strong. Nothing's stronger than Mayum, the force of the water. So now you're dealing with 440, 10. Whoop. That guy. 8.0, 4, oh. So this is how this would be read, dealing with so basically how the angelic beings in the heavens came up with this simulation is they were dealing with nothing but codes. Nothing but codes. Imagine the entire Bible or Quran not having words, not having pictographs, but numbers, right? Even down to the like when you actually what's so crazy is so when you type letters and stuff on a computer, you see letters, but guess what they are? They're actually computer codes, nothing but numbers. Like I done typed something in on a computer before, and before the actual words came up, this was behind the understanding of what I was trying to bring out. Numbers. Everything is always numbers first with numeric value. Everything is numbers. The same thing with sand, which is the Hebrew word for wall. Let's do that. So let's put sand here in the matrix form, right? In a code form. So you have, I do it right here, 8, 7, 3, 0. Before you have before you say sand, or even before you even deal with the Hebrew word sand, or even before you deal with a man, Adam, trying to articulate what sand is, you have chiefly a numeric value, which is in code. Same thing with the trees, which is Irats. Let's look at the numeric value for tree. All right, 7, 0, 9, 0. So again, it's going to repeat. This is going to repeat. It's going to be the same thing, but this would be the numeric value for tree. And how do we know this? Well, you look at the Hebrew word for a tree, which is aratz, and what's going to happen is with that two syllable, you're going to break down the numeric value. You're going to write it in its form on how it would be written in code. That's why it has a numeric value chiefly, which is first, which is a chad. It's always going to have this numeric value first. And then later comes a human trying to understand and articulate and paint the picture of what he's seeing. That's why you got pictographs, because pictographs is a form of people or Adam trying to give a understanding of what he's experiencing. That's all pictographs are. And pictographs chiefly came before you could articulate it. And then the articulation from pictographs comes from an understanding of trying to make a thought and the idea out of what it is that you're seeing to convey that action. Uh, let's deal with Arataza, which is the earth. That's why I got the green over here, right? The earth, Arataza, right? So let's deal with the numeric value of Arataza. You got the which is the ox, which is power, which is you going into a Achad, right? You got which is one, right? Then you got let's see, the Ra, which is 90. Then you got the Tazah, which is which is the seed, the sperm cell, have you will, if you look at it in the ancient pictograph, it's 200, right? And this is why, you know what's funny about that is they tell you that 666 would be the uh the mark of the beast. So it just really means man, protons, neutrons, and things of that nature. But the Tazah would be the sperm cell depiction. And what you got, three of those is what? 2, 4, 6. No coincidence. The sperm cell in the ancient Hebrew is what? 200. What's that two times? 600. A makeup of a man. Equaling Adam. Last but not least, I don't want to make this too long. Oh well, I know I got another one actually. We got the feminine form, which is the wind, which is the spirit. Some call the Holy Spirit, Rawah, right? So we got two, uh, which is the wind, Rawah, right? Which is what wisdom comes by the breath of life, which is a feminine energy, which is a comforter, which is wisdom. You know, woman is the first wisdom that you receive on this earth. Well, before you ever deal with the man, you have the woman giving the wisdom to the child. That's why a child has to be first weaned from the breast and get all of his nutrients and life from that ruach, which is the spirit, right? And that word for life is chai or chaya, chaya. Last but not least, Shamash. Shamash. Shamash is going into what? Light or sun. Not not Ban, son, as in man, but sun as in light. That numeric value is what? 340, 300. Point is, this is how the code was built upon, based upon, well, before we ever seen anything or heard anything. It was all numeric value and numbers and code. Now, what was it before numbers? I don't know. So let's turn this around and look at what we have here. The word for Hebrew for matrix is womb. The Hebrew word for matrix means womb or raham. Now, if you know anything about the Matrix, when Neo woke up out of the Matrix, where was he? He was in a pod filled with water, and he had an umbilical cord strapped to his head, right? To the pod. Now, they tell you that, well, someone like, well, it should have been to his stomach if it was an umbilical cord, but we know that the stomach is your second brain. Peace and blessings. We know that your stomach is your second brain, right? So Neo was in the Matrix, which is the womb before he woke up, which is why Christ said you had to be born again, right? So you deal with the Hebrew word raham, which is matrix, which is womb. And what did Neo do? He woke up out of the womb, and that goes into the simulation that we live in today. We live in a womb. We live in a simulation. Before God ever put land here, there was only water. We living in a engulfed matrix with a solid dome, and there was chaos and water here. It's chaotic in the womb, huh? You deal with that womb, it's actually chaotic there. I can zoom in. So, so when you deal with this numeric values here, God through the spirit. Uh, so if I was Neo and I was only reading a computer screen, God, what I would chiefly and only see first. This is what I would see first. Let me show you. Right. I would only see this. Get a tad bit close. Right. So if I was Neo, and if you just knew code and you knew the numeric values of life, this is chiefly what we would see. Huh? You would see, you would see, you would see the sun, which is Shamash. So this would be Shamash in Hebrew. This would be Aratz. Time. This would be Har, which is the mountain. Time. This would be Hawal, which is the sand. So you got uh, Shamash, which is the sun through the spirit and power. Time. Then you have Aratz, which is the earth, right? Then you have Har, which is the mountains or hill, right? Then you have Hawal, which would be the sand, right? That's what you'll have here. You'll have the sand there, right? Then you would have right here, which would be no, Salakia. This would be Shamash. Uh, yeah, this would be Shamash. Yeah, this would be Aratz, which is the not Arat. Yeah, Irat. I mean. Itazah, Salakia. So you got Shamash, then you have Itazah, which is the trees. Then you have Har, which is the mountains. Huh? Then what you would have here is Mayam, which is the waters. That's what you have. You have Mayam. Then you have Aratazah, or Aratz, or Aratazah, which is the earth, right? That's the earth. Then you have let me see, hold on. What is this right here? That's eight. No, Salakia, this is Kowal, which is the sand, right? You have the sand there first. This is Mayam. This is the sand, which is Kowal. Then right here, when you get down, you'll have, yeah, the earth, which is Aratazah. Khan. And then as we get down here, we have last but not least, we'll have Rawah. Rawah is dealing with the wind. So this would be the numeric value of the earth in its setting. And actually, all things would be painted in such a way through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, dealing with the earth and its value. Con. So again, you have my Shamash, which is the sun. Con, you have the sun. Then you have uh Atizah. Atizah. This is the Atizah would be the trees. Con. Then you have Har, which is the mountains. Con. Then you have Mayam, which is the water, right? Then you got Hawal, which is the sand. You have the sand, Hawal, right? What's that? 1,290. 1,290 would be Aratazah, which is the earth. Con. Aratazah. So this is what the matrix code of everything would be. So this is the earth, Aratazah, time and in code. Then you have Rawah, which is 278. Rawah. So this is what the matrix codes would look like through the spirit and power of Hashem Yahushua first, because you live in a search engine. So this is why Hebrew holds a numeric value chiefly, because this is what everything was before it was any man trying to depict anything. Well, I went and made this for you. Right? And you have Shamash, right? Shamash. You have Par, right? You have Rawah, right? You have Mayam, right? You have Hawal, Khan, Atazah, which are the trees, right? You have Iratazah, Khan. So again, this is literally all based upon and predicated upon this matrix system that we live in. And this world that you live in is a fake. I mean, it's not one that's necessarily fake, but it's a simulation. It's a search engine. That's what this is. Nothing else happened but this being that. Right? So I want y'all to understand that. And numbers do not lie, which is why Zaf Amath. This is the truth of what? Hayah, which is life. That's it, man. I didn't want to make this too long. And I'm actually going to do some more stuff to where I have more numbers so we can see what these codes is. It is a real and understanding that we look at. I'm gonna actually work on the first Bible filled with nothing but numbers and matrix code through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. And with that, shalom.